Hey everybody, good morning on this lovely Monday, February 16th. Just working on some exciting things that I thought I would share, again in hopes of just inspiring and serving and supporting you in creating your most authentic, awesome life. So I'm sitting here with my journal, which is something I do almost daily. It's pretty much a ritual. There are a few days that I'll miss just because of classes and so on, but I do spend quite a bit of time playing in these pages and in the other pages of all the dozens of journals I have. Sitting here with my cup of coffee here. I just made some Bulletproof Coffee. If you hadn't had a chance to check out Bulletproof Coffee, some good stuff. And I've been revisiting this book here, The One Thing. I picked this up last spring down in California, and as we were talking about yesterday in the video, the art of living and closing the gap between theory and practice, and starting to put what you know into play and trying it out and seeing how it works and finding what works for you. That's where I'm at. So here's some key ideas that I've been playing around with that I'm excited to go deeper into this week. I'm actually meeting with a friend of mine from work to explore some of these a little bit more fully. So the one thing is this big idea of what's your one thing? What's your one thing? What's your someday one thing? You know, if you were to create your most ideal life, what would that look like, kind of thing? What's your one thing? What do you want to create? So he has this really cool idea, goal setting to now, this idea of goal setting to now. So I've been playing with that because I want to create some real strong habits and rituals on a daily basis. And goal setting to now is one of those ways to do that. And the way you do it is you figure out what's your someday goal. If everything was to go the way you want it to go and you want to create some magic in your life, what's your someday goal? What's your someday goal? Like the one thing. And based on that someday goal, what's your 5-year goal? What's your 5-year goal that would support the someday goal? And you break it down even further and you say, what's your 1-year goal that would support the 5-year goal that supports the someday goal? And it goes down further even. This month in February, what's my February one thing goal that would support my 1-year goal that supports my 5-year goal and my someday goal? And then I break it down even further to the week, to the day, and then in this moment. And that's what's cool, is that when you're starting to feel overwhelmed or not sure how to spend your time, rather than going to Facebook for the 100th time today, rather than checking ESPN or whatever it is that you go to when you feel overwhelmed, you can say, okay, now what needs to be done? What's my one thing right now goal? And because you've done this work, you're easily able to identify what's my one thing right now goal. So I'm excited to play around with this and get more clear about my someday goal so that I can kind of build this domino effect, if you will. One of the ways to help me do that is with this cool idea that comes from The Big Leap. And he talks about being in your zone of genius. And so he has this quadrant broken down, and he talks about the fact that we can play in our incompetence zone. These are the things we're not very good at. And then we move over to competence, and that's things that we're pretty good at, obviously. And then there's the zone of excellence, which this is often where the majority of the world kind of plays between here and here, because the world rewards us for this. Right? It's comfortable, we're getting paid okay, it's our zone of excellence, our zone of competence. You know, it's okay, it's all right. But where the real magic happens in life is figuring out the zone of genius. What's your zone of genius? What are you here to do? What gifts are you here to share with the world? And this is a big leap, because we often have these upper limiting things that hold us back from taking this leap. It's going from the comfortable, safe to the unknown with uncertainty. And we create these psychological upper limits on ourselves of what's possible. So that's why it's called the big leap. And so what's my zone of genius? And that's going to help me determine kind of what's my someday goal, right? I want to combine these all together so I live an integrated life. So what's my zone of genius? And also to help me play around with determining what's my zone of genius, we've got the Hedgehog concept. And this comes from Jim Collins in a book called Good to Great. And I've shared this with you before. We call it the DRS system. So discover your truth, rock your greatness, serve the world. The first circle has to do with your passions and interests. What is it that I love to do? What would I actually pay to do because I love it so much? Those are my passions and interests, right? The next circle that overlaps that circle is your gifts, talents, and strengths. What are the things that I'm really, really good at? What are the things that I have this kind of innate natural ability that I actually love doing, enjoy doing, and if I took some time and put some intentionality into it, I could become one of the best in the world at, if not the best in the world. So what are the things that I'm really, really, really good at, and what are the things that I love to do, right? What do I love so much I'd pay to do it, and what are the things that if I put some time into it, dedicate myself to mastery, I could become one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world at this particular craft or skill. And then we combine one more circle, and this circle is, what are the needs of the world? What service or contribution can I make? And more specifically, what does the world need that they'd be willing to pay me for? And where these three circles overlap, this nexus right here, this is what I like to call the sweet spot. And it's where we use our passions and interests and skills in greater service to the world. And this is where deep, soul-satisfying success exists, where we're doing what we love, the things that we're really good at, and we're making a difference in the world. And this, in my opinion, is your zone of genius, right? And if we can figure out these two things, which is an ongoing process of testing and trying and learning, then we can get more clear about our someday goal, which then help us master our day, create a day that is absolutely ideal, that creates this kind of domino effect that helps us really actualize our potential to live our most extraordinary life. And so we go back to the zone of genius, back to the hedgehog, or what I like to call the sweet spot. So how am I planning my day? It brings me to this idea of Stephen Covey's work, which is in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, where he talks about time management using this little matrix. And on this row here, we've got the things that are not important. So going across here, these are the things that are not important. Going across this row is the things that are important. And then if we look at this column, these are the things that are urgent, have to be done. Oh my gosh, there's a fire, got to put it out. And these are the things that are not urgent. And so what Stephen Covey talks about in this matrix is that where the majority of us spend our time is in this Q1 area, which these are the things that are urgent and important. Or wait, yeah, they're urgent and they're important, but what happens is that this is kind of the rat race, or this is where we're busy for busy's sake. These are the things that really, do we need to be the ones addressing them? Like, is there someone else that could be doing this? These are the things that kind of make us think, it's the stuff that just, we're really in reactive mode. When we're playing in this area, we're just reacting to life. We're not creating in life. We're really coming from a place of victimhood here. Is, this shit's got to get done, and it's important, but if we spend all of our lives here, we're not going to be able to create a life that we absolutely love. Q3 things, these are the things that are not important, they're urgent. So these might be a phone call if you've got your phone on while you're working. Could be emails. This area here, again, not important, but people drive by your office and they stop and they think it's urgent. It's urgent for them, but it's not really that important. So we want to try not to play in this quadrant here. Q4, these are the things that we tend to go to when we want to avoid what's going on in Q1, really. These are the things that are not important and not urgent. So this is like checking ESPN for the 100th time, going to Facebook, checking your email, watching mindless television, whatever it is that you do to fill in the gap when you're not living to your highest potential. So these are the Q4 activities. Q2, these are the things that are not urgent, but they're really important. And these are the things that tend to get put on the back burner when life gets tough, when we start to feel overwhelmed. And these are actually the things that we want to keep at the front because they're so important. These are things like developing deep relationships, really adhering to your loved ones. This is the self-care, making sure you're fueling your body right, getting enough sleep, exercising, those types of things, reading great books that inspire you. Investing in good relationships. These are the things, your big projects that aren't urgent, but they're really important ones. And again, these are the things that tend to go first when we feel overwhelmed by this kind of reactionary mode of playing in Q1. We want to learn how to play more fully in Q2 and expand this box so it's really big and potentially eliminate Q4 activities altogether. And so what we can do is kind of start to play this game that when we notice ourselves going from totally being reactionary, busy all day, and we get a second to breathe, notice ourselves try and drop down into here, where we avoid. when we go to the ESPN, the Facebook, the email, the mindless television, whatever it is, notice yourself starting to bounce down here. And instead of going here, look up to the Q2 list of items in here, and pick one to go rock it. So if it means going for a walk, getting out in nature, calling up a loved one, meditating, journaling, whatever it is for you that helps sustain your energy, helps kind of rejuvenate, reset yourself, make it a game. You notice yourself getting an overwhelm, you drop down here, you notice, oops, I'm off a little bit. What can I do now? Jump back up here to the things that help sustain and rejuvenate you. And this is where I've been kind of playing with of like, what kind of daily rituals and habits can I create to help me kind of learn to play more fully in my sweet spot, my zone of genius, that then matches up to my someday goal and how I'm spending my time each and every single day. So excited to learn more about this, play with all of these ideas for myself. I'm meeting with a friend of mine at work to talk more about my one thing and also his one thing, so that we can both kind of have a sounding board to talk it over with. So I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope it was inspiring, that it served you in some way, shape, or form. If it did, please drop a comment below and feel free to share this with anybody in your life that you think might benefit from it. Love you guys much. I hope you're doing awesome today, and really, really just excited to see what comes in the weeks, months ahead as we continue to play with these ideas, to get vulnerable, to share with one another what we've got going on and all that goodness. So love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.